but her area is a little less. And then share. Okay, so welcome everyone to our new leader orientation. I know they say new leader orientation, but it's our training for all leaders once every 5 years. And then after you do it initially, you can do any other training pretty much and let us know what it is, and that counts for your next 5 years of training. So this is the one to get everyone into being a 4-H leader, hence the new leader orientation. But here in Campbell County, we're just trying to get it going. So this is the leader orientation for Campbell County. So welcome. We have some people virtually with us, and we're recording it so other people can listen to it at another time. So unfortunately for them, they don't get the food, they don't get the goodies in front of you. So my spiel on it is there's fidgets. So if you're teachers and understand the fidgets at your table, feel free to use them, draw on the table, and the tablecloth. But if you are distracted by it, I'll take it away. So there is all sorts of fun stuff. There's Vicki. I'm going to have you draw a card. I might actually just give you a card. Here. Did everyone get a card? Okay, yes. Oh, you need one too? Yeah. I have to participate. There's one more. Okay, so this training comes from the state. Our volunteer specialist is the person who has come through and looked at the university policies, learning 4-H volunteer policies, and combined them to make this leader orientation training. I tried to add in some fun stuff. The very first time I taught it, it was very bland, very boring. It was really not. So that's why we've got some fun stuff and hopefully things that will give you some ideas of how to work with kids as you're sitting along for our pretty exciting leader orientation training. So, sorry you guys, you don't get to help or do this part of the training, but our first one is we're going to do an activity. See if I can get it to continue on. There we go. So we're going to do an activity. I give everyone a deck of cards, or I brought a deck of cards, everyone got a card. So we're going to stand up and do an icebreaker, meet and greet. Don't know that everyone knows everyone here, so it's a way to meet people. So I want you to stand up, find another partner in the class that has the same color as you, and do introductions, and then describe your favorite food. So I have a red card, black card. Okay, if everyone is meted and greeted, now we are going to meet someone new who has the same number as your car do introductions. And why is that? So who thinks you have in common? All right. So maybe someone new. I'm totally Okay, so we are going to meet someone new, and our last question is, share a goal you have for this summer.
So find somebody else.
Yep, find someone new.
Has the same suit.
Yep, same suit. Same suit. Same suit. Yep, same suit.
I got 11 weeks. I'm taking I'm Kelly, by the way. Brad, nice to meet you.
Okay, if you have meet and greeted, you can find your seat.
Got all three bedrooms. Bathrooms. I'm gonna find somebody else.
So like I said, this is the state training, so there are some things, I'm sorry, some things that I'm gonna read word for word over there. I try not to read the whole PowerPoint for you, because you can do that. You have handouts in your packet that you got. If you didn't get a packet, please grab one, because they've got all sorts of trees there for you to take home, colorful trees too. Oh, okay, I can get more copies of those. And then for you guys online, I am going to, when I get done with the recording today, I'm going to put that on our county Facebook page, plus the links to these handouts, so you can have them at that. That's where they will be. So. And they are color coded. So the first handout will be red. The second handout is orange. The next handout is yellow.
And they're in order?
Yes. Yes. They're in order. Except the green, the dark green one. It's not in order. But I felt like that was the most 4-H one, and I wanted you to like. Yeah. I wanted you to read that one, so I did front. Right. So Wyoming 4-H has over 7,000 youth in 23 counties. We have a 4-H program in all the 23 counties, plus one on the Wind River Reservation. So our program in Wyoming is pretty large. So for today's training, it will not cover how to be a 4-H club leader or a 4-H project leader. As part of today's training, you will learn more about the 4-H program as a whole and the role you can play as a volunteer. You will strengthen your understanding of how to work with youth through 4-H. And when we finish, and we will finish the training by sharing the safe practices that you should use when working with youth and other adult volunteers. So we're going to go over all of those risk management things, hence why this one is a mandatory. You have to go through this one training. So the history of 4-H, I personally love the history of 4-H. It's over 100 years old. And the 4-H program was started, so they started Extension before they started 4-H. Extension, their efforts were to teach the community, extend the knowledge from the university to the community. And they were having resistance from adults. Adults were coming, they were listening. So they found that if they taught the kids and made it a competition between the kids and the adults, then the adults would learn, the kids would learn, and then it just extended the knowledge out that way. So they had corn clubs back in 1902 where the kids would compete with their parents. They would learn from 4-H practices about how to grow better corn, bullyable problem, how to work with pests, and then they exhibited it at fair against their parents and had better crops. So that's how 4-H began. It came a long way from the cows and the plows. There's so much more to 4-H now. We have, I believe, over 26 different project areas. So in Campbell County, we have 5 top projects, and this is the number of youth enrolled. So in Campbell County 4-H as a whole, we have over 500 youth every year and about 150 volunteers every year. So those are our top project areas. So if you look on the top right-hand side, there's a little symbol. It says handout, so there's a handout on this one. So that's your red sheet there. So there are 3 different levels to 4-H and to Extension. That sheet there has the contact information, so if you ever need to make a phone call. So here at the county level, we are very blessed. We have 2 4-H educators. All other counties have 1. So our commissioners fully fund the assistant 4-H educator position. So if you ever see one, please thank them for investing in our 4-H program. So at the local level, we have members, volunteers, parents, 4-H educator here, county 4-H committees, and the county 4-H commissioners. At the state, so that's the second part of that sheet, we have the state 4-H office and then the state extension office. It sounds weird, but my supervisor is not at the state 4-H office, he's at the state extension office. So with that, extension is kind of in some rough times right now financially, and so we've had people leave, positions not being filled. So right now, we have across the state of Wyoming, there's 2 associate directors. So that would have been my supervisor. She retired, and so the other supervisor went up into the head of extension, and so we have no direct supervisors right now. But if you want to talk to him, his phone number's there. That's Dr. Kelly Crane. He's the head of extension, starting June 1st. He's the interim right now. And then from the state, we have the state 4-H program coordinator, state specialist, director of extension, university president, legislatures, and Wyoming 4-H Foundation. And then the national level, so 4-H is with extension at the University of Wyoming, but it's also part of USDA and the United States Congress. So we stem from a large mothership. So with that, we have multiple funding partners. I already mentioned the county funds our other 4-H educator positions. We actually fund half of my position. The university funds the other half. They fund a whole bunch of program support. So a lot of the stuff that we're able to offer is because of the funding that the county has. Then we have our 4-H council and enrollment dues. And so some of the funding that we get from the community itself goes into the council. And those monies are distributed throughout the county. We have state funding, the University of Wyoming. Then we have federal funding as well. So there's a lot of different places that our money comes from. It's kind of confusing. You don't have to worry about that part, but that's where we come from. Because we are part of the university, we follow the affirmative action, so you've probably seen this before. So as a leader, you have to abide by the affirmative action plan as well. So please do not discriminate against anyone because we need to be open for all the people in our community. So moving on to 4-H as a whole. So the mission of 4-H is to empower youth to reach their full potential by working and learning in partnership with caring adults. So there are a lot of important parts to that mission. Probably one of my favorite parts is with a caring adult. So that's where you come in because you guys are the caring adults that are working day to day with those youth. So that also has PYD. Does anyone know what PYD is? Oh, look at you. You either knew that or reading the next sheet. Positive youth development. So there are some components there to positive youth development. Like I said, I'm not going to read. I'm going to try not to read off the slide. So I'll let you read there for yourself. So in Wyoming 4-H and positive youth development, and make sure I click enough or else I have to click one last time. So working with youth and through the 4-H program, youth are able to set goals, keep records, and reflect on learning in a project area. You can help us in providing and planning opportunities for hands-on learning experience. So things like the fair and other similar experiences give youth a place to publicly display their learning of their project. So this picture right here is pretty new to 4-H. They just came out with it, I'm going to say a year ago. Sorry, I'm very sorry, it's tiny. But Google the 4-H driving model. That's the newest model that 4-H is going for. So they're looking at what sparks youth, and so they thrive through their development. So in this, all youth have interests and abilities and strengths that can be enhanced through 4-H participation. The thrive trajectory, sorry, that's a big word, starts with the youth spark or interest that gets them excited to learn. We adults then set the stage to make sure the learning environment is positive and engaging through encouragement and a push when needed. That's the Thrive model of 4-H. So essentially, we find a spark. So what gets members hooked into 4-H? When we have someone new wondering, what's 4-H? We say, what do you like to do? What project can we get them hooked into? So when they find a project, they learn skills. They get that youth development component of learning this life skills that can then cross into different projects. So woodworking example and clothing example right there. So your next handout is on the Big M. This one's been around for a lot longer. So the Big M, it's not set up there, but belonging, independence, generosity, and mastery. So those are the 8 essential elements. I know there's only 4 up there, but there's 8 elements that contribute to the Big M. So if you just remember Big M and belonging, independence, generosity, mastery, that's the biggest part to this model. So with this, we try to take the 4-H youth developer, 4-H youth, and have their involvement in 4-H in these components. So belonging, developing a positive relationship with caring adults. Then independence by fostering leadership opportunities, generosity, involvement through civic engagement activities, and mastery through understanding how, mastering skills within a project area. And then the yellow handout is the experiential model. This one's also another more publicized model. So this is the do, reflect, apply. And there's things that we can do within our 4-H work to help the members. So they experience, they do the activity, they share. So FAIR is a big part of the reflect. So they sit down with interview judges and talk about their project. They share. They process what they went through in the do. then they apply it. So how are they, or generalize and apply? So how are they going to do next year's project different? What do they learn? How are they going to do it different? If they decide not to do sewing anymore, are they going to learn those or use those skills in a different project area? And then do the whole thing again, the never-ending circle. Can you guys hear me okay? Yep, okay, thank you. And then the last component, or last model that we're going to go over is light green, and that's the target life skills model. So this one takes the head, heart, hand, health, and it breaks it down and has specific skills. So when we get kids involved in the 4-H program, we don't say, hey, come to 4-H, you can learn wide use of resources. No, we teach them that through their project work. There's so many things on here, plus more, that we have as life skills that members learn with their project work, and then in their club work, in their fair experiences, and all of those opportunities through 4-H. That's life skill wheel. It's fun to say too. So I talked about the projects. There is curriculum. We have a whole bunch of curriculum downstairs. So if at any point in time you have a youth that wants to learn about something, say you're in a club and they want to learn about rocketry, and you don't have anyone that you know is doing rocketry, we have curriculum downstairs. You can also find it on the 4-H mall, and they can learn and teach themselves through our state-sponsored curriculum. There's also all sorts of other areas to get it, but we have it down in our office that can be checked out at any point in time. We have tons of stuff too. We have clippers, for sheet clippers that I just got repaired and back in. We have cotton candy machines. So say your club's doing a fundraiser, you need to make cotton candy. We have a cotton candy machine. We have tons of stuff that you can check out at any point in time. So ask if you're wondering. And unfortunately, I don't have an inventory list, but there's tons of stuff that you can use. Yes, popcorn machine, thank you. Yes. Yes. So ages and stages. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the 4-H program and youth development is ages and stages. In 4-H, we have 4 groups of youth that we work with: Clover Buds, juniors, intermediates, and seniors. And so in a second, we'll talk about each one. So it is the most challenging part of the 4-H program because we have youth 5 to 18 doing activities together. And so how do you teach all those different ages at the same point in time? Not all in the same age grow and develop at the same rate and same speed. So even though we have it broken down to different age groups, each one of them in that age group are different. Age ranges help us focus on unique physical, cognitive, social, and emotional development of youth within similar age groupings. So we start off with the Clover Buds. At this age, children are concrete thinkers, which means they are literal thinkers. So for example, we are going to make a fruit salad, going on from bullets here. So give instructions that are simple and clear. For example, we are going to make fruit salad. First, I want you to walk to the bathroom and wash your hands with soap and water. So literally exactly what they need to do, but be simple and clear. Use a paper towel to dry off your hands. Because if not, if you say, just go wash your hands, oops, come back with wet hands. You all know little kids, they do that. So you have to be simple and clear. So give rules, focus on doing, cooperation and competition. So children at this age are not cognitively, socially, or emotionally ready for competition. That's why they can come to fair, they can show us their project, they get a participation. They don't get first place, second place, third place. And they're concrete thinking, if I win, I'm a winner. If I lose, I'm a loser. So they're not quite ready for that competition. And behavior in group settings. Children are still learning to control their bodies to themselves in group settings. So providing hands-on activities allow them to be busy. So things like this, if you have a little activity you need to do, give them something like Kelly to fidget with so that they can sit there and move like they need to and focus at the same time. Our next one, I think it's interesting what they put the young child, middle child. I realized that after I heard it, I didn't go back and fix that. But the middle child is our juniors, ages 8 to 10. At this age, your 4-Hers can begin to set goals and carry out projects over a longer period of time. They also have increased language abilities to express their thoughts and feelings. Arguments and conflicts are now more likely to be verbal than physical. So emerging ability to set goals. They have an eagerness to learn new skills and try new things. With their friendships, youth have a heightened need to form friendships and be part of a group. And then cooperation youth this age are generally cooperative and want to please adults. That's kind of fun. We always tag along on your side. Can I help you? Can I do this? Can I do that? They're cute. They're all cute, but in their own way. Then the early adolescence is our intermediates. They are ages 11 to 13. At this age, youth are moving toward more abstract thinking. They have better problem-solving skills, can imagine multiple possibilities, and take on more responsibilities. 4-H volunteers should provide them with opportunities for input, leadership, and planning 4-H activities and experiences. So with their friendships, youth who don't have friends in positive groups are at risk for developing negative and antisocial behavior. 4-H provides youth with supportive and positive social opportunities. We want everyone to be involved. We want them to fit in. So that's a great component to 4-H. This age, they are self-conscious. So sometimes they feel they are too cool to be a part of experiences involving younger kids. They want to be with the older kids. And you guys working with those kids that age range every day are shaking going, yeah, that's so good. And then humor for their attitude. Sometimes they come off with having an attitude. So find humor when you're working with them for their attitude. So my example here I think is funny. When asked to try hummus at a food tasting activity, a youth yelled out, "Steak, it looks like cat puke." And the 4-H volunteer laughed and said, "Yes, it does." And scooped it and ate it. So, use humor to deal with their attitude. And then our final stage is adolescence. That's our seniors, ages 14 to 18. This age range experiences an increase in abstract thinking. They are better problem solvers. They have more ability to think in shades of gray rather than right and wrong, in and out, and day and night, for example. Many have thoughts and opinions about politics, governments, social issues, and more. So they're starting to become independent, which is great, also challenging in its own world. So for leadership, seen as a skill to be mastered, young people look for different opportunities to practice leadership. So we have things, young leaders, 4-H campus camp counselors. Is there an opportunity to get those leadership skills and start out and trying those new opportunities in a safe environment? For friendships, they're starting to become where they want to be more independent. So being part of a group is still important, but they individually identify, and that's becoming important to them as well. They have self-exploration, so they like to try new things and learn more about themselves. It's making them be their own individual. And then they're future-oriented. So sometimes adults can see that as a negative thing because they think this age range is that they're selfish, self-centered, but they're given that's the time in their life when they have to start making huge life decisions. So am I going to college, the workforce, military? What kind of relationships do I want outside of my family? What's the world going to be like when I get out on my own? So they're at that time in their life when they're having to make all these huge decisions. And so those decisions can affect them for the rest of their life. So they're kind of at that age where they're very future-oriented, but also reflecting about themselves as an individual and where they're going to go in the future. So that's our senior age. So for 4-H, we try to look at our competition and what the members do in the program in a different way. In a second, I'll show you the two different ways. So how can winning be more than being first? So there are two ways to approach competition. So we have the end-focused and then the mastery-focused. So the end-focused approach to competition places more value on the winning than the performing the task well. So you can see right there. And then in the mastery-focused approach to competition, success is measured by growth, not the final score or ribbon. So our goal in 4-H in skill development is to give 100%. So what did they learn? Did they get it their all? It's better to have, members compare their current performance to their own previous performances with self-improvement being the goal. So it is better to be a blue ribbon kid than have a blue ribbon project. That's something we try to focus on is how well did the kid do, not necessarily how well the project turned out. So we try to emphasize that with our judges at FAIR. Just a side note, sometimes judges get caught up on how pretty it is. But we try to push what did the kids learn. That's why we have an interview judgment. What did they learn? How did they reflect on their project? So in that, when you're working with kids, think of these questions. So switching from the end-focused questions to the mastery-focused questions, and have them more about setting goals and working hard to achieve them. So we are going to do an activity. Sorry, you can't be involved in this activity, but there's the picture of what we're going to do. Okay, everyone gets to stand up. And one thing you learn working with kids, sometimes you sit too long, fidgety. So here's an activity that you can do with your kiddos. And if I can have some assistance in making these circles. Yes, okay, sorry, yes. Please come.
I'm not joking, I know this game.
No, it's a rating game. Uh-oh. Now we're gonna get a knot. Okay. You take that and make it a circle-ish, I'm sorry, Mom. Circle-ish.
On the floor.
Yes, please. And then, like the diagram there. So this one's super cheap. You have a grandma in your club. She probably already has the yarn, so it's pretty much free. Yes, or if you have yarn. And you might have wool yarn.
Yeah.
So we are going to get a little close, but I think that's okay because we get to learn more about one another. Okay, so as you can see up on the projector, there's 3 circles. So that's what we're going to look at is the 3 circles. So we have the comfort circle, the green one, the growth circle, the yellow one, and then the fear circle, the red one. So I'm going to say some situations, and then you get to step where you would feel within the circle. So yes, everyone's going to come up and get close. Okay, so the first situation, you are sitting in a chair in your living room reading a book. How do you feel about the situation?
That's my favorite thing to do.
Like I said, we're going to get a little close. Okay, how would you feel in the same scenario if you're sitting there and a spider comes down from the ceiling? Okay. What about a snake slithers over your feet? I had a super situation. Not even there. Okay, how would you feel about going bungee jumping? Like water rafting? Yeah, that was fun. Yeah. How do you feel about singing a solo in front of a large group? No. Okay. How do you feel about confronting a friend about something they said or did? Okay. Yeah. So as you can see, so you can step back now. You don't have to be in each other's bubbles. So you can use this activity in working with kids. So asking them some debriefing questions. So were you surprised by what other people had come up with? So having a difficult situation in your club, bullying, whatever it is. Bring it up in a circle. Ask them, start off with a fun question. So snake and spider, and then go into some of those harder questions. Were they comfortable with some of those situations? And then were you surprised where you ended up compared to others? How can we support the choices that each other make? How can we encourage youth to step out of their growth zone without pushing them into the fear zone? So when working with kids as well, things we need to keep in mind is that in the comfort zone, learning doesn't take place. They feel comfortable, okay, whatever, they're there. Been there, done that, is what it says. In the growth zone is generally where the learning happens. So you're pushing them kind of out of their comfortable zone, but still do it. If you get into the fear zone, brain shuts off, you're done. snake comes across my foot, I'm out. I'm not even going close to that. I'm screaming the other way. I'm in fight or flight. So it's no fun activity. And that's why I have some printouts. So some people in the past have said, I would take that back to the club. You can take that out. So if you leave this here, I'll clean it up later. It's fine. Thank you. Okay, so, let me press the next one. So we're going to go to some different categories now. We're going to some of the more in-depth part of our training. So the first one is safety. So being safe. Our first concern is the safety of our members and the safety of you as volunteers. So that's your highest priority. As a 4-H leader, you sign a code of conduct. You complete a background check. If you're going to drive, you do the motor vehicle check, and then you attend this training. So that's our first steps of making you a safe volunteer. So the handout is purple for the next one. That's the code of conduct. In our new system, it is just boxes you click. So sometimes you don't always read, you just click boxes and move on. So that is the code of conduct for you. You can keep it forever and ever and ever and know what you signed your life away to for being a 4-H volunteer. So the code of conduct includes things like being a positive role model, representing the 4-H program, being respectful to others, and other common sense type of statements. So that is there for your at-hand access. So when staying safe, we want to work on the 1 to 10 youth adult-youth ratio. And with that, we need to have 2 adults to every present at every time. So it's more like 2 to 10 than 2 to 20, 3 to 30 for our ratio. So the 4-H program, like I said, is part of the University of Wyoming, and this is the University of Wyoming's policies when working with minors. So there should always be at least 2 certified volunteers at all meetings and events. Avoid one-on-one contact with youth, and that's even in social media. So don't send text messages to just one youth. Send it to the parents. Try to have your Facebook groups. I know some clubs have Facebook groups. Have your group so you can all talk together as a group. Always encourage parents to attend meetings or come and stay at practices, and avoid transporting of only one youth. So that's where we want you to be safe as well. So think about how you're putting yourself in different situations as well. Children have personal boundaries, so respect them. So if you're going to do an activity, so my example is the other day we did sewing conference and we had to measure kids. Talk to them, explain the steps that you're going to do. So for sewing, you have to measure some parts on the body. So when I do, I talk to the kids. I said, I'm going to go around your waist to take measure. And so that they know before you just touch them. So there are some things, shooting sports is another one. Talk to them, tell them what you're going to do. I'm going to reposition your arms so you're holding the bow correctly. So talk to them before you have to touch them if you need to. If you don't touch them, that's probably the best, but if you need to, ask their permission first. Never hit or strike a child, even when you're playing around. No roughhousing. And then always use positive reinforcement in an understanding tone. For staying overnight, they have some additional policies and additional training that's available on the state's website. So 2 adults should not sleep, or if you're staying overnight, no one adult can share sleeping quarters with you. So either have 2 adults or no adults. And that's the state's policy. So if you go, I know Old Judging has gone on some state trips. They have the adults in one room and the youth in another room. And that way, they're safe for their calls, for the state's policies. So youth protection, this is the little brochure. Sorry, this one isn't in your color-coded steps. I know, but that one's in color. So, yeah, I know. So that one has some of the things that we'll talk about plus more. So there are a few statistics about child abuse. It's confirmed across Wyoming. It can occur at any time, anywhere, any place, and it's not restricted to any particular race, religion, gender, socioeconomic status, marital status, or other major identifying characteristics. And there are a few different types of abuse, and I believe that's in your brochure as well. So mandatory reporting. There are only 3 states in the whole U.S., and Wyoming is one of them, that says all citizens must report any suspected abuse. So in the other states, it's just those with professionals like teachers, doctors, and law enforcement. Wyoming is all citizens. So that is your job in working with youth. If you suspect, and that's the key word, suspect abuse, you must report. And if you don't feel comfortable, you can come to me and I can help you in the reporting of the abuse. So you don't have to have confirmation. You just, oh, sorry, that's later on. So, but you must thank you. So here are some of the terms for child abuse and neglect. The term child abuse and neglect covers physical abuse, physical injury, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, and abandonment. Here are some general signs. So look for extreme changes or a combination of the signs. And a lot of times it's gut feelings, just something doesn't feel quite right. Usually with older kids, there's suicidal thoughts. The fear of going home or going to being around a specific person is also a big sign of abuse. Think about the differences between physical abuse and non-intentional injury. So is it intentional or was it non-intentional injury? And again, like I said, there's a lot of time a gut feeling that happens when you see a youth with abuse. So think back to when you were a kid and you were playing. Is it a normal injury, scrapes and bruises, or does it not look quite right? So on sexual abuse, this can be hard for a child to come forward and talk about because they don't see it as wrong. A lot of times there's issues that have happened leading up to the abuse, and so the child doesn't know and doesn't understand that it's wrong. So the child may feel embarrassed, may feel ashamed. So report it ASAP. And then the trouble with emotional abuse. So sometimes the adult rejects the child. They don't care how the child is doing. They make realistic and convincing threats to abandon or harm the child. So I'm going to leave you somewhere and never pick you up. And the child is in a submissive mode while being openly, publicly, and loudly embarrassed. Things to think about with the emotional abuse. So like I mentioned before, you have to disclose or you have to report. But when a child comes to you and talks to you, these are the important steps to take. So just believe the child. Be there, be the open ears listening to the child. Talk privately. It's not a group discussion. You want to keep their confidentiality. Listen to the child, reassure them that they've done the right thing by talking to you. And then explain that you have to report. That's the big thing. You can't tell them, no, I won't tell anyone, because it is your civic duty to report. Don't investigate. Like I said, just if you suspect, it's the other agencies, which are in the brochure, it's their responsibility to do the investigating, not yours. And then report it immediately. If you're wondering who to contact, it's in that brochure. There's a couple different places. They're in the center. Every county in the state has an on-call option, but if it's more serious, you should call local law enforcement right away. If you don't feel comfortable, come to me. I can help you in the situation. And then be prepared with the information. So the name of the child, some of their information, what they said to you, your if there are specific characteristics of the abuse that you saw. So that's tough stuff, sorry. Now moving on to volunteer role as a 4-H leader. So we have some different areas in which you can volunteer. There's the activity leader, so that's helping out with a club or county events. There's things, being a specific club leader or just assisting the club leader. It's always helpful. I know club leaders are always needing more help. You guys have a strong club that uses everybody as leaders. There's project volunteers, and so we have things like Project Week or rodeo or all sorts of just different activities throughout the year. If you like to do something and want to teach it, come talk to us. That's one thing I didn't mention earlier. I'm sorry. On the red sheet, there's 2 of us, Celeste Robinson and myself now. I decided to split up the tasks, so she's going to be doing the static stuff, and I'll be doing the livestock and the animals. Sorry, not just livestock, because I get thousands of cats, and luckily we don't have creepy crawly project pets anymore. But I get the animals, and she gets the static. So if you have something that you want to teach, come talk to us. We'd love to help facilitate that. We've got meeting spaces, we've got program support funds that we can help get supplies. We'd love to do more. So if you're interested in being a volunteer for projects, come talk to us. There's committee members, so helping plan events and county programs. We have chili bingo, we have achievement night. We can always use an extra set of hands. And then there's a coach and a chaperone. So 4-H camp, if anybody wants to come to 4-H camp, it's blast. We love it. It's craziness for a couple days with a little sleep, but it's so worth it. So that's our volunteer roles. We're going to go over the clover itself. So head, heart, hands, and hustle. Not really hustle, but you know, it was fun. So there is the official 4-H clover right there. On the right-hand side is the 4-H grows here, and that's one of the national campaigns. So that's another official 4-H logo. So the 4-H clover is regulated by law. So it has to be a certain color of green, only white and black. There's a handout there that has those specifics for you. So the envelope can be used for educational or information uses, which the 4-H and Cooperative Extension Service deem as best interest of the 4-H program. So if you're making a flyer for a club activity, for shirts, go ahead, use it as long as it's appropriate without having stuff in front of it, without messing with the clover. If you're using it to sell private animals, market your private stock or your private items, it's not appropriate. It's a 4-H, or sorry, it's a educational, informational clover. And there's another slide about them, the specifics on it. So then when raising money, you can use the clover. We have all clubs and all groups must come to 4-H Council and request to do fundraising. We also have funds to help volunteers get training. So if you want to go to a training and you need assistance in funding, come to the council. We have money we give you. So that pot is pretty much untouched. So you want to go somewhere and do a training, come talk to me and we can figure out how we can help you get there. So to be a successful volunteer, communication is key. We have the green sheet, sorry, it's out of order, is our remind. And that is one way that we try really hard to get our 4-H activities, our 4-H word out to the public in the quickest manner. Not everyone's on Facebook, but I think pretty much everyone, except my stepfather, can get text messages. So, or not my stepfather, my father-in-law can get text messages. So it's our way to get the word out to everyone. So please sign up for any of the reminders that might be applicable to you and to your family. And then this slide here is just where our communication happens. We're working on our next newsletter. We have Facebook pages, we have our county extension and 4-H page. And then if you want to get your own curriculum, that's the link for it. Oh, see, I messed up. So we are just going to toss around that I blew up my beach ball. So I don't have to do anything first. So we're going to wrap up with a debriefing activity. And I have a book full of different debriefing activities. So if you ever want to borrow that, you can come down. So I'm going to toss it. Someone's going to touch it and answer one of the questions. So. Okay, you got it. Which one? Let's do blue. Oh, let's do white. Sorry. Yep, this training. Yes, this training.
Well, I guess I kind of fall into the club leader, and we do our own projects in our club. So that's how that goes.
If you can talk to number and choose a color. You get to choose a color now.
Oh, I do?
Yeah.
Orange.
So what did you learn?
It's kind of a loaded question. I think there was a lot of useful information and relating to the different level or different ages of the kids was really interesting. Due to not really working with younger kids so much anymore. So I had a lot of insight and good information.
Okay, toss it one more time and then pick a color. Uh-oh. It was empty. Okay. What will you do with this information?
I guess feel a little bit more free and able to feel.
I'll make you toss it back to me. I'll grab it at the end. So, well, thank you, everyone. This is probably my favorite quote: "Is kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." So, thank you very much for coming today, spending the evening with me, and one another. If you want to talk amongst yourselves, now's a great time to network and figure out if you're having issues. Maybe someone else is having issues. We can help you out with ideas. But that's all I have officially, so thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want your card back?
Yes, you can leave your card on the table. Thank you.
No.
Thank you, everyone, for coming online.
So when I first started, you had to go to the master volunteer class.